Someone who identifies as a woman.
presents.
Okay. So I have a couple questions, and then I'll just let you guys get into it. So, question. This is related to dating. Okay, I'm going to relate it to dating, and then if you guys want to get into the weeds or whatever, that's fine.
Just saying ideology.
My first question is to you, Pixie.
Yes.
Is a transgender woman a female?
Biologically, no.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. All right, that's out of the way. Okay.
Easy.
Oh, we got the
It's
question
medical,
there.
you know,
Okay.
scientific.
So, can a male become a female?
If you're talking about pure biology, no. If we're talking about social construction, then yeah.
Well, are you talking about men and women?
You
I'm confused.
He
because
said male and female.
male.
Okay. So we're keeping this to straight. We're actually
Sex.
keeping
Well,
this
yes,
to
to
biology.
sex. I'm talking sex, not gender.
Okay, then yeah, no.
Okay. Question. So, relating it to dating now. If a man, excuse me, hold on. I got to use a precise terms. If a male was, okay. Hold on. I'm trying to think of the best way. This is very confusing.
Your word's right.
It's very
Cis male.
confusing. A male was who is not transgender. Was S-ing the D of a transgender woman who has a penis. So, and you see a
I'm
video.
sorry, I don't know what S-ing the
Sucking the peen.
Okay.
Choking
dirty.
I don't know what other fucking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Giving the
Swallowing the
sloppy
log.
toppy.
There you go.
Sloppy toppy. Thank you very
The
much.
glug glug 9000.
Yes. So.
You were selling one of those, right? Sorry.
Oh God. That's another conversation. That's a whole nother conversation. So, would it be gay?
I kind of lost the plot after the
Okay,
first
okay.
one.
If,
So-
if a
Can frame it
dude
easy,
sucked
super
a
easy.
trans woman's dick, is
Yes.
it kind of gay?
Oh,
Is that gay?
I think that's up to the individual to
Well-
basically decide their orientation. I think a lot of people, and I would probably be of the opinion that, like, you know, I think genitalia is more directly correlated to like sexual orientation, but I'm not gonna be like, hey,
No, but it's Megan Fox.
it's Megan Fox.
Looks
Oh,
looks like Megan Fox.
With the dick.
It's a transgender woman that's just as physically attractive as Megan Fox, but has like just a
Big ol'-
peen, just a
It
peen.
used to be Matthew Fox.
And a guy is just
Going-
Gluck 9000. Thank you,
A lot of
Nala.
visuals going on here.
Thank you, Nala.
Honestly, I'm
would
not
it
sure.
be-
I feel
would
like,
it be
what is
gay?
it?
Would it be gay?
I'm not
curious.
Okay,
I
let me. Can I ask you a similar question because
You're,
this is.
you're asking me a question?
Yes, I'm asking you a question.
Yeah, she has to answer your question.
Yeah,
with
no,
a
no, no,
question.
no, because I'm trying to get a framework here.
I know you want to come in.
Wait.
You could just
Do you
answer
think
the
it would be
question.
straight
Yeah.
for a man to basically do the lickety lick, I don't know, on a Hulk Hogan who has a vagina?
Sorry. So when you say Hulk Hogan, it's a female,
That
Yeah.
looks like
that,
Hulk
but just
Hogan.
is like
Yeah,
really.
Helen
Yeah,
Yeah.
everything, like it looks literally.
Yes, that would be
everything looks like
heterosexual.
Hulk
Yes,
Hogan.
that would be
Except-
heterosexual.
That would
But
be
it would
straight.
be
That would
more
be straight.
gay
No,
than...
I think-
yeah.
No,
Not only if the
no.
term doesn't mean
Sucking
anything.
Megan Fox's dick is a little gay, but it's less gay than sucking Joe Rogan's dick.
Based on what? Just some arbitrary analysis of
Really?
what
How
gay
they look
means?
the
How they
same?
look, just entirely how they
No,
look.
it's
I
based
think
on
a
nothing.
straight
If you're
man
sucking a
would
dick
move
and
the dick
grabbing a
out the way
titty, it's a little
instead.
bit less gay than if you're sucking
And
a
just
dick
fuck
and
him.
grabbing
Sucking
like
the dick's
his
kinda
chest
gay.
hair, you know?
No, but it's.
When he says gay, he means homosexual.
I get what
Says-
I know exactly
Well,
what
yeah.
he's saying.
Okay, so then how could
Same
it
thing.
ever be homosexual to have sex with a woman if you're a heterosexual man?
I said it's a little bit more
I have a
gay.
question. Do you think it's gay for a guy to let girls peg him?
Yeah.
But then how is it? But isn't that the definition of
I didn't
heterosexual?
say it was
It's-
homosexual. I said it was gay.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing the thing I'm doing. Exactly.
That's why we have our criteria. correct.
Exactly.
Andrew wins the podcast. Andrew wins the podcast.
Wait, he just gave me my point. I win this podcast.
No, I won.
No, I was just saying gay in the way you're exactly saying it, which is like, yeah, if you're like into a girl that
but
looks like Hulk Hogan and
what
has a vagina,
what I
it's
did
a
was
little more gay.
I used what your analysis was in order to answer that question, and I made it funny because I'm awesome.
Yeah, it was a based analysis.
That's how
Wait,
that works.
Yeah,
Now I
you're
need to
welcome
know.
for the awesome analysis.
Is it gay or not
Because I
to
made
let a
the joke
woman peg
good.
you? I don't understand.
Yeah. Do you think it's gay to let a woman peg you?
Yeah.
But it's a
not
girl.
homosexual.
'Cause- But
It's
it's
not
not
gay.
homosexual.
It's not
Homosexual?
homosexual.
There's difference.
No, they're
Okay,
not
let's-
homosexuals.
Okay.
You
Wait,
just think
you,
it's a little
you
fruity.
wanted to come in? Go ahead.
If the man likes sucking the dick, he is enjoying a homosexual activity. By definition, homosexual.
He's a homo.
Let's be careful. Just be careful.
He's enjoying a homosexual activity. If he's simply attracted, just alone, being attracted to a feminine passing body individual, that would be straight. Like she said, it's really it has a lot to do with the genitals, and the genital preference is a huge thing with sexuality and stuff like that.
So it's Megan Fox with a D. It is what?
If he likes sucking that dick, it's homosexual.
Like sucking that
I think Andrew Tate put it best that it is way gayer to fuck Hulk Hogan with a pussy than move the dick out the way and fuck Megan Fox in the butt.
I believe that. No, that's true. That is
No,
a
he
very
did.
base
He
take.
said it.
He said that.
He said that.
It's very base.
But
Base.
It's just let's
How
be
is it
honest.
based?
It's just a little more gay to fuck a woman who looks like a dude with a vagina.
Dude, the whole time
it's
you're
just a
fucking,
little
it's
gay.
Hulk Hogan. When you're hitting Hulk Hogan.
Just like it's a
Megan
little gay
Fox,
to suck a woman's
if she's
dick.
bent over, you don't have to even see the dick. You just see Megan Fox.
Yeah, that's so true.
gotta deal with it.
But if she,
You can ignore it.
if she's bent over, you don't. She can hold it up. You don't have to look at it. Just Megan Fox's ass.
So I think almost anyone who's going to be open to a pretty fluid options of genitals would probably already themselves be like, yeah, I'm queer. Like they're almost always going to be part of the LGBTQ community.
Yeah, the problem is that the terms lose meaning. So you can understand when you're saying the word gay and you mean it like how we're talking about it here, which is when males call each other, and you know, don't be. And we're saying that, right? We don't actually mean anything about homosexuality at all when we say that. I never meant it like that. It's never been used like that. And it's the same thing here. So the term does need to have some meaning. And it's like, no, obviously, if you're having sex with a woman, you're a heterosexual man. You're having sex with a female, you're a heterosexual.
Yeah, but you're a little bit more gay on the binary between.
Just gross. It's not gay. It's
no,
just
it's a
gross.
little bit more gay if you're really attracted to every single masculine secondary feature other than a dick. That's a little bit more
Okay,
gay.
wait, that wasn't the
was not
statement.
the-
Well,
that's
that's
a
a
whole
whole
Hogan
attracted
example.
to. It's you said
It was
would
who
you
would
rather.
There's
Hold on.
difference.
Think
Yeah.
about what I
Big
just
difference
said there.
between
Hulk Hogan's secondary characteristics would be things like chest hair, no breasts, stuff like that, but still with a vagina. If you're attracted to every single male secondary sexual characteristic, but you want a vagina, it's just a little more gay than if you're attracted to a feminine appearing woman with a vagina. Obviously, this is true.
Wait, feminine woman
Yeah,
with
so
a
say you have
vagina.
Megan
No, that's
Fox with a
woman.
vagina versus Hulk Hogan with a vagina. If you're more into Hulk Hogan and you're having sex with her, it's a little bit more gay than if you're having sex with Megan Fox with a vagina.
I agree with what you're
Obviously.
saying, but that wasn't the example. The example was Megan Fox with a dick.
Yeah,
and
that's
Hulk
more
Hogan with a
gay
vagina.
than, for example, having
for
sex with Megan Fox with a
heterosexual
vagina.
men, they're gonna say, "I'm gonna choose a vagina." But it doesn't matter not
I
attract.
I feel like that's such
These
a,
men are
but,
coping. These men are coping hard.
No, I feel, but it's such a dumb
Tell that to every
scenario
Thai
because
femme
I would
guy.
let's be real. Most transgender women are nowhere near even approaching the physical beauty of Megan Fox.
Sure.
I would argue if you were to line up 100 transgender women, I mean, I don't know if I got a good vision for that shit, but I could probably tell.
There's a test. You should take it.
The fuck? There's
There's a
a
test to be like,
You
is
gotta
it
go
a
to
trans
HR.
woman? Is it a real woman? And every single guy who has told me that has failed that test.
Okay, I may. Who knows?
Yeah, because
Who
there's
knows?
a lot of super.
Would
So I
it-
agree. The average trans woman is probably not passing because they tend not to try to even transition until post puberty, and you can't get rid of NFL shoulders. It's a little rough, right? But I'm sorry, men saying that they would prefer Hulk Hogan with a vagina. Most of them are coping.
But
They're
I think
just
a better.
lying.
I think
What's
a better.
not
Why is it
being-
a
but
cope?
I think
because they would rather
Do
have
you
sex
realize
with Megan
that
Fox with a
men
dick.
actually
Yeah.
find it, and heterosexual men would actually find that to be physically revolting to have to suck another man off? They find it so physically abhorrent and revolting that why wouldn't they go for the alternative? What you're really saying there is that men who have sex with ugly women are gay. That's what you're actually saying.
I'm saying men who have sex with women who have all male secondary
Ugly women.
characteristics.
Ugly women.
Yeah, but
Ugly
that's.
women don't have
women
all.
It's ugly
and
women.
Hulk Hogan are what miles
Yeah,
I
apart.
don't like-
so men
too.
who
That's
have
such an
sex
extreme.
with
No.
ugly women
No,
are
let's go
gay.
back to my statement. I said men who prefer to have sex with Hulk Hogan.
It's
Okay,
such a
but
ridiculous
that wasn't
example.
the
It's
thing.
such a ridiculous
Hold on,
example.
I will walk
was not-
everyone through my hypothetical again, because again, it is obviously more gay to suck Megan Fox's dick than to have sex with Megan Fox's vagina. Obviously, that's true. It's a dick.
Wait, you mean Hulk
Wait, what?
Hogan?
It's just no.
No.
It's
You do it. I'm
This
extending our
example-
hypothetical. I'm
this example
stretching it
is
out.
so ridiculous, though, because I think a more fair example to use. Let's take comparing the average woman who's of average beauty and average, her
Men are going to
body's
prefer average
physically,
women. Yeah. Men are going to prefer average.
comparing it to an average transgender woman.
But that's not what the hypothetical's about.
But it's such a ridiculous hypothetical.
But that's how hypotheticals work. You
I
test
know,
ideas
but
to the
it's-
extreme.
Also,
Sure,
though, like if we're gonna
So,
do,
like,
if we're gonna do
I
extreme,
agree, but there's not a lot of Megan Foxes with dicks running around, and there's not a lot of Hulk
Yeah, I
Hogan
would
with
agree.
vaginas.
But let's
but
also
we're
be
using
real.
the extreme for
But let's
everything.
also be realistic. If you're gonna say Megan Fox with a dick, poor Megan Fox and Hulk Hogan in the situation, can't you give like a very attractive man?
Yeah,
'Cause,
Blair
like,
White
'cause
and,
you could say like Ryan Reynolds with the vagina. You know what I mean? Like
Sure, we could
putting
say
someone
Blair
who's
White
so
and what's his name?
hyper
Bucket.
masculine, but not necessarily considered like normal attractive.
Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, like I
Okay.
respect him. He's a good,
Sure.
he's a very fit man. But
Ryan
just a
Reynolds
little-
has like more of the female gaze, I feel like, than the male gaze. Though.
But that's what I'm saying. If you're choosing a sex symbol for men, that's Megan Fox. You have to choose the equivalent of
Sure.
what that would be.
Ryan
for,
Reynolds with a
Henry
vagina.
Yeah, like you're saying Hulk Hogan, so
But
you're
really-
like, oh, men wouldn't be attracted.
What you're actually saying, though, ultimately, is that if a man has heterosexual sex with a female who's ugly,
No,
they're gay.
because
Again,
ugly
haven't
women
said that.
aren't filled with secondary.
You are,
sex
because
characteristics.
when you
I
say,
am not.
if you say
I
that,
am not.
let's
Hold
just,
on, hold on.
I can
You have-
prove this. I
Yeah.
can prove this. I
Most
can
women
steel
don't
man
have,
your
like,
argument.
chest hair, like-
I'm going to pause you for a
Let me
second.
steel man it.
Stop,
Let me
stop.
steel man it.
I'm going to I'm going to pause you because what you're trying to do is frame the argument.
No, I'm just going to
itself.
steel man you,
No,
and you can say if I'm
you have
wrong or
inserted
right.
words into my.
You can say if I'm
Sure.
wrong or right. Okay, so the steel man is if you're attracted to the secondary sex characteristics of this person, and they're
man.
all male. They're all male secondary sex characteristics, or
include
what we
things
would
like?
consider male secondary sex characteristics. So like abs and a ball, I don't know, whatever they are.
Chest
okay?
hair.
Yeah, all that.
Wide
okay?
shoulders.
Yep, got it, all of that. So you're attracted to those things, but you're having sex with that person because they have an actual vagina, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
You're a
the
little bit more
distinction-
gay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I steel manned this correctly?
I reject that because ugly women aren't just masculine women, I guess. There's a lot of ugly women that are not masculine.
So hang on.
Well, there might be a guy like fucking a girl who's really unattractive, but also has no male secondary sex characteristics, and I wouldn't say he's more gay. But yeah, if you're attracted to all of them, if you're attracted to Ryan Gosling with a vagina, it's a little bit more gay. Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously.
So then here's the difference, the distinction. The distinction when we're asked this hypothetical, who would you rather do X with? Would you rather do this with the heterosexual, right? Or have heterosexual sex or homosexual sex based on the secondary sex characteristic beauty standards?
Yeah.
And the man picks the Hulk Hogan. What is the objection there when you call it a cope? Because you switch the argument to say, no, it's if they're attracted to the secondary sex characteristics.
$200. I would be on board with trans if it was similar to Thai lady boys. They are not pretending like they are actual females. The problem is trans women act like they are actually female. Brain dead.
Okay, trans women lying about like what's going on is bad, right? That would be unethical in my view. But like that's literally to my point. Yeah, a lot of men would just choose really sexy femboys to have sex with, especially if it's casual sex.
But he's
yes,
saying that's
obviously.
not true.
I'm just telling you, they're fucking coping.
Yeah, but
But
Not
that's,
all, not all
So
men.
let me
There are some men
give you the
that fucking love
question.
pussy,
So let me give you the
okay?
question back.
Yeah.
Within the hypothetical of you had to choose, right? I understand you switching it to say, I'm sorry, if you're attracted to secondary sex characteristics on a man, then that means that you have homosexual tendencies. Okay, I can totally agree with that. But you did switch it. So, and you say it's cope when men say this. Why would it be cope for them to pick the thing that had the vagina?
Because they're lying. Because they're not engaging honestly with the hypothetical.
They are.
No, because they're attached to all.
Most people select their sexual mates based on like how they look and how attracted they are. When you put them in this type of binary, you're being like, if you knew that they had a vagina, blah, blah, blah. But the reality is that's not how anyone engages in sexual dynamics at all. Absolutely not. And most people will pick the femboys regularly, all the time.
But isn't the
Prove
argument?
it.
Isn't the
What-
argument?
what-
Over Thailand.
How what
I'm gonna
possible
tell
way
you.
could you demonstrate? No, you don't go to
That's super
Thailand.
chat.
Wait a second. You go to Thailand, and what happens at Thailand is you're left with a bifurcated choice that you must fuck a femboy or not fuck a femboy. What are you talking about?
Actually, what actually happens is that there's tons of ladyboys walking around that are hotter than most women somehow, and men are actively choosing to have sex with them over female
Yeah, but that
prostitutes.
does not engage with what we're talking about at
Yes,
all.
it does.
No, it
It
doesn't.
necessarily
How
Would
could
you
it
consider those
possibly-
men gay?
How could that possibly engage with what we're
Are the
asking,
men-
which is how is it cope for a man to take that selection? You say it's because given the opportunity, if a man had that pre-existing
once it goes
condition,
into the
they
practical
would
world.
still go after
Yeah.
the one that had to demonstrate that.
Okay, the way that I would demonstrate that is, again, the moment that you move the hypothetical into the real world, instantly men suddenly swap their choice and they're fucking ladyboys. They're often
Homosexuals do that.
Modest
yes.
Keeper
No.
donated
Yes.
$200. Thai lady boys have boobs and dicks, you dumb.
Yeah, I don't know. What that
ass
is.
or dumb bitch.
Also,
It's
like
hard to know
side,
which
That's
of
four
us.
side,
letters,
side note.
so-
So
I'm
this
guessing that was
chatter,
for
just
you.
to be clear, is, and I don't think they've
I
supported
think
me
it's
throughout any of this.
dumb. I
is-
think it's dumb. F-U-C-K, by the way.
Yeah.
oh yeah.
Are
you're
we
right.
not allowed to cuss? I thought
This
we were.
is
Yeah, dumb
evidence
fuck.
to
Yeah, that's
exactly
where
what
we
I'm
go.
talking about, right? That a lot of men, at the end of the day, when you put into a practical, they're just gonna pick
How
what's
do you know
fucking
that that
hotter.
was in support of you?
I think it was.
He said twice that he would always pick that he would just have sex with ladyboys. Absolutely.
Maybe he's gay. Maybe he's an actual homosexual.
Do you think Andrew Tate is gay?
Yeah, I think that if you're a man who says that you would have sex with a man for under any circumstances, you're homosexual.
You heard it here. Andrew Tate is gay.
I feel like if you're that
I feel
defensive,
like if you're that defensive over it,
Then that means you must be a
yeah.
homosexual.
Well, yeah.
It's like, I'm not a murderer. If you're that defensive, you're a murderer. Yeah, that's insane. That's cope. That's actual
Oh, I
cope.
mean, all of this is cope. Like there are some men, by the way, that are really into pussy, and I would grant that there are some men when they say, oh, they would pick Hulk Hogan, they probably would, right? I bet you that's you. I'm not saying that you relate to pussy. I have no idea about your kinks or preferences. I'm just saying, like, that seems like a really big deal to you. The issue is that most guys want to get some fucking dick, right? That's all they really care about, and they don't mind if they're sticking it in an asshole. They don't really care that much as long as she's hot.
most
Just want
guys-
their dick to be
As long as she's hot.
inserted into
Most
something.
guys don't care.
No.
No, they don't find that to be completely physically revolting. Most of them.
No, I
You should
having
talk to
sex
more
with a
men.
ladyboy?
Yeah, you should talk to more men.
I've talked to lots of men about
Talk
this.
to
actually.
more
like-
of them.
I don't need to.
That's
I
like,
can tell you. I can tell you men who have gone to Thailand and have been tricked into thinking that they were women at first, and then they
Yeah.
retreat.
Sure,
Retreat
but the
very
reason
quickly.
that they're retreating is because they were looking for vagina specifically and they were lied to, right? That doesn't, none of this has
doesn't mean that
anything
they're
to do with the
coping or anything. It's
hypothetical.
that they
I
thought it
just
was one
said
thing
some
and
are
it's-
being honest, but a lot of men who answer this are just being copy because they're like, I don't want to be fucking gay. And it's like, it's literally more gay to be into Hulk Hogan. It just
you
is.
still haven't demonstrated it though.
Yes,
you just
I
say no. You haven't. You just say I think that most men would.
If you
That's
pick
my
male
demonstration.
secondary
I
sex
think they would.
characteristics over female
Yeah, I
secondary
just think
sex
they would.
characteristics,
Yeah,
it's
your,
a little
I
bit
think
more
they
gay.
your
would.
demonstration is literally just being like, oh, well, I personally wouldn't, so it's not that way. Andrew Tate is gay.
No, the burden would be on the
How
person
do you
who
prove it?
claims that, hey, wait a second, the non-homosexual picks the non-homosexual sex. This makes sense, makes logical sense. The person who says, no, the heterosexual would pick the homosexual sex because they have real pretty eyes,
No.
that's the
Okay,
burden of proof,
Let's
lady.
back us up. Let's
That's
back us
the
up.
burden.
What do you think sexual orientation has to do with? Do you think it's about like genitals, the type of sex you want to have, or like what you're attracted to? Like, what is it?
I think it could be a combination of tons of things.
Me too.
And within the confines of that exploration, though, I do think that there's a revulsion factor which happens between most members of the same sex, which repels them from having any type of intercourse with each other, especially men. When it comes to men having same-sex relations with each other, what is the one thing men always talk about going to prison that they're terrified of?
They're terrified of the rape, but again,
Yeah,
yeah, but why? Why are they
Because
terrified
rape
of
is
it?
fucking
Yeah.
horrible. Sorry. Because big bad word is horrible.
Because
not
they're
because of sex in and of itself.
because it's 10
No.
times. They think it's 10 times more revolting. It's not the victimization
Killer
portion.
Beyond
even.
donated $200. Hey dummy, forcing that choice doesn't mean they prefer those masculine features. That's just how much better the P is.
That's true.
Of
This guy
course,
likes
given
P.
any choice, we would rather have a beautiful woman.
Okay.
Right. But if you force the bifurcated choice, they choose, you say that's cope because you think that most men would do this, and your only line of defense to say that is that some homosexual men have sex with ladyboys.
No, that is not my only
Modest
defense.
Heathen
That is not my only defense.
$200. Andrew W. This bitch trying to twist words. The point is lady boys don't think they are actually female like trans women in the USA. FKN brain dead.
Okay, sorry, I thought this guy was smart. It turns out he's a fucking moron. Okay, I won't allow you to frame my arguments or tell me what my arguments are because you are being dishonest in the framing of them.
No, you're being dishonest.
Stop.
You swapped the hypothetical, and I watched you do it in real time.
I did not swap the hypothetical at all. I did not swap the hypothetical at all. There's no way. You just saying it over and over doesn't make it true.
I can literally show you how you did this. What you did was you asked about a bifurcated choice. Once it was demonstrated which of us would take that choice, you then said, the people who are attracted to secondary sex characteristics on one or the other, that's more or less homosexual. The thing is, though, is that you did not add in anything about attraction, only which choice would you take.
Right, and part of the which choice is which would you have sex with, which to some degree we would assume in there is some level of attraction. Just like you said, levels of attraction include things like your sexual orientation, which genitals you would like to deal with, what you're attracted to physically, a number of things like this. Which is why I'm saying having sex with a vagina is more straight than having sex for men than having sex with like a dick, obviously. However, being attracted to body parts or selecting to have sex with secondary body parts that are of the opposite gender is just a little bit more gay, obviously.
I see your argument, but again, the question was if you had to choose between this genitalia or this genitalia, which one would the man?
Well, not just genitalia.
That is not
it was
the
who was
question.
attached.
That is not
the
the question. Hold on, stop. That is not the question because
it's just you being dishonest and reframing.
Well, no, because
you're
it's
just being
attached.
dishonest.
No. Attached to the question isn't whether you want to have sex with a dick or a pussy. The question is Hulk Hogan or Megan Fox, which implies hypermasculinity and hyperfemininity, which is part of attraction.
But you're
necessarily.
cutting off the genitalia. Because
I'm not cutting off the genitalia. I'm including them. You guys are trying to cut off the genitalia.
No, they're trying to cut off their person. They're trying to pretend it's only the genitalia when we're attaching it to the person.
No, it's not. The hypothetical is inherently not genitalia because why the fuck would I say Hulk Hogan and Megan Fox if all I wanted to ask people about is whether they prefer pussy or dick?
Then it's just still the same exact thing where you're saying that if a guy is with a really ugly woman because she's just really ugly.
It's not the same.
Yeah, if she looks like a man, if she looks like whatever your definition is of a man, even though she's just an ugly woman, right? You're saying if a guy has sex with her, he's gay.
Or do you want me to wait until you're done spurging?
That's what you're saying.
Are you done spurging? I can explain again.
You're the one cutting me off every time I talk.
For the second time, I'll explain again why what you just said
Use really
isn't
small
what I said.
Words.
Sure, I'll try using little kid words for you.
If you can you get a coloring book?
Maybe.
That would be great. You got one in front of you. Get a purple pen.
Yeah, do you want to color my rope
and then
diagram?
explain to me how that's not just an ugly woman.
Okay, the reason why I didn't say what you just finished saying, fuck, what did you even say now? God,
that's an ugly woman.
Sneaky with this. What?
That's just an ugly woman.
No, okay, thank you. Thank you, actually. I appreciate that. The reason why it's not just an ugly woman is because I already outlined that this is disanalogous and you're lumping in a larger group of people than I am talking about because not all women look like Hulk Hogan or have secondary sex characteristics.
What?
My entire point is secondary sex characteristics.
Okay, wait a second.
So if I started including fucking birds in this, that wouldn't matter.
So could there be...
The category isn't what we're talking
could there be ugly women who look like Hulk Hogan?
Yeah. So
well, then your point's totally mute, dipshit.
No, you fucking moron. You fucking moron.
Oh, you're a fucking moron.
Okay, let me walk you through categorical philosophy, okay?
Let's walk through it.
Yeah, I'll
Write
draw
me
you
a p-value premise for your argument.
Wait. What? Here's
Informal
a picture.
Logic.
Here's a picture of birds, okay? All sorts of birds go in this circle, and inside of this circle is seagulls, okay?
Coloring competition now.
You see that? Seagulls. So, seagulls. You could do canaries, though. They're much cuter, okay? Actually, that's not true. Seagulls are cuter. That's a good one.
Do a swan. We like
in
swans.
Another circle, we have ugly women. And then in a smaller circle, inside the big circle, is Hulk Hogan women.
And here we have just an ugly woman. It's just an ugly woman.
How dare you draw me like that?
That's it. Just
Andrew.
an ugly woman.
How dare you draw me like that?
They exist, and if a heterosexual man has sex with one, they're just a heterosexual man having sex with an ugly woman.
You're wrong. You had to draw a portrait of me rather than dealing with categorical analysis because you know that you're incorrect.
Well, no, I didn't say a very ugly woman.
Because how majority of ugly women don't have beards and chest hair. They're just ugly.
Yeah, but
Some
it doesn't.
women-
It wouldn't
some
matter
women grow
if
chest hair.
her.
I didn't say all. I said majority.
If her
Or
counter
unibrows.
analysis is to say.
Free to color.
If her counter analysis is to just say.
No, it's too far.
Hey, there are women who exist outside this group of ugly women who are other ugly women. That wouldn't matter. All that would matter is that there's women.
Hold on. It would matter.
Stop talking
No.
so I can finish my point.
No,
Stop talking so I can finish my point.
You're talking
Stop
about,
talking so I can finish my point.
You're talking about my
Stop
position.
spurging. Stop spurging. Stop spurging.
You're incorrect
Stop
about
spurging.
my
It's my
position.
turn.
As
My
long
turn.
as you
Stop
keep saying it,
spurging.
it'll be true,
Stop
right?
spurging.
Okay.
Stop spurging.
We don't like
want to go
spurs.
because he's about to reframe my argument.
No, I'm
and-
about to tell the truth. Is what I'm
You're-
about to do.
Oh my God.
Okay, so
Okay.
anyway, and she's just going to repeat. She'll repeat. I promise she's going to repeat this exact same thing. She's going to say,
Stop telling me.
There's
Stop.
women.
Hold on. Stop.
There's women who
No,
exist.
stop.
She's still
No,
spurging.
hold on.
Still spurging.
One of you talk
Brian,
first.
he cannot be outlining my.
I
position
can
before
because
I
I'm doing it right now. So
You're
anyway,
incorrect.
yeah, I am
If he
correct.
does, then we'll call him out.
So all you're doing, all she's doing is saying there's women who exist outside of the category. There's women who exist outside or
That's not
inside
what
of
I'm
the
saying.
category.
Here's the
I
point.
asked her. Are there women who
Wait, just let him
exist
finish.
inside of the category of ugly women who look like Hulk Hogan? If the answer is yes, you still haven't made a compelling argument as to how that's non-heterosexual sex or in any way even homosexual.
I appreciate that you're trying to back it back up to the broader conversation, and we can go there, but I just want to make it super clear that you were being completely dishonest about my argument, and
No,
you
I'm
know
not.
that because you know
I'm not.
you know categorical philosophy. So I know that you know this. When you said that when
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying that men who have sex with ugly women are gay, you knew that you were engaging in a categorical fallacy because you know that not all ugly women look like Hulk Hogan.
They don't have
The only
to.
people, yes, they do. My claim is that
Write
men
it
who
out
have
in a
sex,
premise for me.
My premise is that men who are having sex with Hulk Hogan women are more gay. That's my premise. So when you expand
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it to
but
the
what's-
broader
yeah,
category,
yeah, I understand
it's
your
a foul-
argument, but
stop,
what's my
stop.
argument back?
I'm not done.
Can I ask a
I'm not done. Can
Yeah, but
you
what's
agree-
my argument
stop.
back? That's where you're.
No,
That's the disconnect.
No, I'm not moving off of this until you
Yeah, but I'm
agree.
telling you, I'm actually telling you the structural problem here. The structural problem is you're confusing two things. So my argument back to you, though, is to say, no, this is false inside of this category.
What is
That's
the
the
categorical
distinction.
analysis?
Yeah, so you're pointing at this and saying this is a category. I'm denying that category exists. I'm just saying that's just another ugly woman.
So you just
and
think-
some ugly women look like Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. Wait, you're agreeing with me. You're right.
I don't think
Some
I am.
ugly women, if we use a circle for the poor chat, some,
Yeah.
if this is ugly women, some of
This.
them look like Hulk Hogan.
Yes.
Not all women who are ugly look like Hulk
That's
Hogan.
correct.
So when you conflate my argument as saying Hulk
didn't
Hogan
conflate
women
it.
are, you did.
Nope.
You are being fallacious about my
There's no
argument.
fallacy.
And I need you to stop
There's
being
no
fallacious
fallacy.
for me to engage in good faith.
Then
with
go
you.
ahead and tell me. Explain how
I
wrong.
will explain it again if you would like.
Modest pick 'em up.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have a side question.
Okay.
Hold on.
No,
I will explain it one more time for the class.
Say
I
what?
really
I
want to
don't
ask.
get it.
Do you think men who have anal sex are gay? Like if a guy does anal,
To a woman.
You mean
They're not gay, but
Wait.
it makes them a little bit fruity.
Yeah, they're not homosexuals. No.
Because they're into it.
Okay.
They're into the
So
act,
they're like
but
a
it doesn't
little
make
gay.
them gay.
so anal sex is not inherently gay.
But it's a woman's
It's
act.
not.
Yeah, but it's a
Wait,
woman's
are they
butthole.
doing
How
it
is
to a
that-
man or a
That's
woman?
not.
That's the
Okay.
question.
It's
Listen,
not a man's act.
homosexual. That's an act. It's not for me. It's not an allocation. From my worldview of logical possibilities. So everybody has different worldviews for what even starts with logical possibility. Homosexuality is an act. It's an act. It's not even an attraction. As you could be a person who's attracted to the same sex, never act on it. You'd
That's
never be
gay.
a homosexual.
I know that's
Ever.
pretty gay if you're attracted to men. Like,
You
what if,
could say
what
if
like,
it's- you could say
every
it's gay,
man you
but
see
what
you
I'm
wanna
saying a
fuck
homosexual
so
is-
bad, but then you never act on it. You're super gay.
For instance, let's say that you had two gay animals, okay, two homosexual animals. How do you know when they're homosexuals?
I mean, but like,
No.
if the anim-
How do you know when
if
they're
the animals could
homosexuals?
talk, if the animals could talk
Right.
and be like, I really want to fuck other guy
Right,
bunnies,
they
but I
really
can't,
want to do
you're
this
still
thing,
gay.
but what I'm saying is that
That's
it's an
what do you-
action.
I mean,
Homosexuality is an
sexual
action,
attraction.
yes.
No,
It's
because
an
thoughts
action.
are an
Like,
action.
if you want to
It's
fuck
an action.
guys
Thoughts
not
are
acting
an
on it,
action.
you're still,
I can't-
you're
Sorry,
still gay.
Thoughts thoughts are treated as an action in all of behavioral science. Yes,
Yes, it is.
You are
Behavioral
completely
psych,
wrong on this.
100%.
In all of behavioral psychology since Skinner, we have treated thoughts as an action because you can train thoughts as much as you can train other things.
What's the subconscious?
That the subconscious, like, what
What's
do you mean
the
specifically?
id, the ego?
I'm not talking about psychoanalysis.
Yeah,
I'm
but if you're talking about the id or the ego, or what you would call the
I'm not talking about
subconscious, or whatever these
psychoanalysis.
things are.
No, I'm talking about. Wait,
What I'm-
you're talking about like Freudian shit.
No,
I'm talking
what
about
I'm just,
Skinner.
what I'm asking is, can you have thoughts that aren't even your own thoughts?
By inherently, if you're saying
yeah,
that-
you can have
Castrated.
Right.
intrusive
So then,
thoughts.
from
sure.
my worldview,
Black hair girl saying that a man would prioritize the extreme feminine presentation over female genitalia. Conversely, would he be more repulsed by the masculine extreme or the male genitalia?
That's a pretty good way of saying it.
so anyway,
That's a pretty good
Yes.
way of asking it.
the question becomes, remember I explained to you a long time ago in a debate about the concept from the Orthodox worldview of the logisme. Same thing in the Catholic
Remind me
worldview,
what that means,
though they
though.
don't call it the logisme, they have a very similar thing, which is that those bad sinful thoughts that come into your head, they're not your own, they're demonic thoughts. And these are not things which you would actionably do absent the fact that those were inserted into your brain. So the reason that inside of Christianity we say, listen, you're not really a homosexual if you're not acting on the thoughts, we're not even sure that they're yours.
Sure. So I guess my response to that would be, what is it? The Sermon on the Mount where Jesus, or is it Sermon on the Mount where he says, if you think a hateful thought, you should like if you steal, you should think of stealing, you should cut off your hand. If you like lust after a woman, you should pluck after your eyes. So I guess I would just say
That's actually referencing that, though. That's actually saying
It's
that
saying
these
thoughts can be sin.
Yeah, it's saying that these thoughts which are introduced to you, it's better to do anything except act on those thoughts.
Can I ask something?
Well, lusting
go
is
ahead,
just
in the
go ahead, go ahead.
hypothetical?
I think we just
ahead.
fundamentally
So
disagree.
you're
here.
saying
I mean, it's in your worldview. I thought you were like more Catholic. That is part of that worldview.
No, because
So you're
part of
saying that
we
if
would
you
take
think-
Wait, just let her
responsibility
ask.
for thoughts.
Hold on.
Go
So
ahead.
you're saying if you think homosexual thoughts but you don't act on them, that's not homosexual, right? But
That
we're thinking
makes
about
it means
attract,
you're
like
not a
having
homosexual,
attraction.
yes.
But then you also said if you have those attractions but you don't act
Yeah,
on
but
them,
the
that's not
problem
homosexual.
is, from my
But
worldview-
I'm sorry, I'm just trying
Let
to
her finish.
I just want to ask this before I get my point. So, just to make sure I'm understanding you right, if you have like gay attraction but you don't act on it, you're not gay.
Yeah, so
But wouldn't those thoughts, okay, not to be too explicit, but those thoughts might give you an erection. And so if you look at men and you get an erection, is that gay?
Yeah, so I'm just trying to explain to you that the thoughts which are introduced into your brain to act on these, what we would consider sinful behaviors that you're not supposed to do, that's from the tradition she comes from and the tradition
No,
I come from.
I'm came from
Okay,
Catholic
so
family.
in both of these traditions, these thoughts which are introduced into your brain, that in itself is not this
I
sinful.
understand that.
But this
Hang
is
on,
the
hang on.
difference
between like an intrusive
I'm almost
thought.
done. I'm super close. Right? Those thoughts which are introduced themselves are not sins. It's your actions that make them sins.
But I guess there's a difference between like an intrusive thought that like can just randomly come and does not have like any say over what you actually feel, and then like genuine attraction.
Right. So the question
that might
becomes,
cause a bodily
this is the
response.
question of
Yeah.
the logisme.
And then at that point, if you have a bodily
this is the
response,
question
isn't
of the
that kind of an
logisme.
action?
Which are which? So which ones are thoughts which are introduced absent you, and which ones come from you? That's a much tougher question. And so in my tradition, we say most of the thoughts that go into your head are probably not yours. Most of them are probably
agree with that.
demonic thoughts.
Yeah, but no, if you're having a bodily reaction
That's what-
to like
that's
these
what I was
thoughts,
getting at.
that's where it becomes
guess that's
something
kinda what I was
gay,
asking.
right? It's like if you're, what is it?
So if it
could
gives you an erection, is
it
that
could
still
still
gay?
have a reaction based on those thoughts, the introduction of thoughts, and have a physiological response, and still never act on those things. So we have to be cautious.
So you're saying if a guy gets a hard on because he sees another hot dude and wants to fuck him but never does, he's not gay.
I'm asking you this question. I'm asking you from my
We're asking you.
viewpoint.
Yeah, I'm saying that's really
Yeah,
gay.
but
We're
from
asking you.
and I'm answering you. My answer would
think
be
that's
no,
gay?
but here's why. From my tradition, we're saying the thoughts introduced into the brain, there are thoughts introduced into the brain which are demonic thoughts. And those thoughts can have they can put pictures in your head of all sorts of lustful things. They can put pictures in your head of all sorts of attractions you may not have. This is all Christian traditions have this, except maybe some Protestant ones, including Kyla, who says she's more involved with Catholics. She has to kind of concede that this is
But
also
we're saying
true.
it's no